Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name's FPL Phillips and this is another episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm. It's a quick turnaround this time for game week 31 and I'm hoping this video isn't going to be too long either because I am feeling and probably look like you know what. I've got a nose strip on to try and help me not become a dirty mouth breather and I'm going to go back to bed and have a Lemsip pretty much as soon as I finish recording this. So I'm going to have to apologise for that from the get-go. Also, if you do hear any drilling or anything in the background of the video, I've waited as long as I can really to record this video and unfortunately it's just not going anywhere. So if that does come on at any point, I do sincerely apologise. But with all the rubbish out the way, let's hopefully get into some good stuff with this video. I'm taking on the computer-generated team as usual this time for Game Week 31. I'm excited to be having the football back midweek, even though I'm not feeling my best. But let's get into having a look at how the computer-generated team is lining up for Game Week 31, shall we? And here we are. So it's 17-11 now. I forgot to mention that in the intro, but the algorithm with Alexander Isak last week definitely had the edge over myself. That pretty much left me no chance of coming back in terms of points, even as soon as the midday kickoff, I should say, on the Saturday. But let's get into having a look at this week's team then, shall we? It's Dubravka of Newcastle who was in that game, who does come into the team first. And Newcastle as a defence are one that I'm definitely not looking to target, just due to the sheer amount of injuries that they've got. The data, and to be honest, when I've watched them, didn't look great defensively already. They've now had Botman out. They've now got Lascelles out for, 6 to 9 months, which is very unfortunate for them. So it's a very makeshift Newcastle backline is going to end up being. They weren't filling me with as much confidence as they were last season already, and to be honest, against any attack, I'm not feeling that confident, even the likes of Everton, who don't tend to score too many goals. Now I've said that, Dubravka will keep a clean sheet, probably alongside his teammate Fabian Schär, who also makes it into the back line, because that seems to be how stuff's going at the moment. I don't think I've had a defensive return in my own side for the last 2 game weeks, so I'm probably not the one to take advice from as to which defensive assets to go for in FPL right now. But if you were to take my advice, Connor Bradley and Gabriel are probably 2 picks that I do like more. I think Gabriel probably will start this one. When I ever see Gabriel with an easy-looking fixture on paper, there's always a little bit of me that has those war flashbacks to when Gabriel's been benched in easy-looking fixtures before. Maybe it could happen again, but you'd have to hope that he starts this one against Luton at home. Connor Bradley then in against Sheffield United at home. He could have had a lot of returns against Brighton. I think it easily could have been 10 or more points for him in that one. So yeah, Connor Bradley is one that I really do like the look of. I don't think Trent Alexander-Arnold's going to be back anytime soon. So very happy to see him in the team once again as an owner myself. In midfield, we're going to see Mo Salah taking the captain's armband. No prizes for guessing that one, as Liverpool go head-to-head with Sheffield United. Luis Diaz also makes it into the midfield, and each one of them could easily have had another attacking return in that game. Very tight offside call was the difference there to Salah assisting, I think it was another Luis Diaz goal. So, yeah, very, very unfortunate in that one not to get more returns, but maybe they'll cash in on all that XG, XA, whatever you want to call it, in the game against Sheffield United. And then we've got a double Arsenal midfield with Odegaard and Saka up against Luton at home. Odegaard's numbers aren't impressing me a lot, but I suppose he is just kind of that nailed one who could end up taking a penalty. Martinelli hasn't been starting games. Trossard he can't really go for. Gabriel Jesus, I'd probably be more inclined to go for an Arsenal defensive double-up than a midfield double-up at this point, kind of for that reason. And then finally, the 5th midfielder is going to be Cole Palmer. In such good form at the moment, even with a slightly trickier fixture on paper against Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. I think that he is a really good asset to still target at that cheap price, still on penalties, very much the talisman of that Chelsea side at the moment. And yeah, I think you kind of have to back him no matter what game he's going into. Maybe not Man City or someone like that you'd have him in, but I think the United fixture is one where Chelsea could get a goal or 2 at least. And then finally, up front, we're going to see Dom Solanke alongside Erling Haaland. So the algorithm is still backing Haaland, despite me seeing a few people considering selling him and things like that. Before the game week's coming up, we've got the double in 34 and the double in 37, obviously. And then Dom Solanke, who is one that you probably won't be selling if you're not on a free hit 34, due to the fact that Bournemouth have the double there. But Crystal Palace at home, maybe not the strongest fixture for them. He did a score last time out, though. He just seems to be that ever-consistent Dom Solanke who can prop up with a goal. And when Bournemouth score, you've got a pretty high likelihood that he's going to be involved if he's not scoring it. And then finally, on the bench, we've got Flecken, Wood, Burn, and Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri is one that I particularly like the look of. Burnley away, not the, I suppose, the easiest fixture in the world. It could have been a home game, but Burnley are definitely one of the weakest sides in the Premier League. Wolves have that double in 34 as well, so you could definitely look to target him if you're someone who's not free hitting that game week, and he could be the best defensive transfer in, I think, that you could go for this week, in my view. Dan Burn, again, I'd probably sway away from Newcastle defence. Got a triple up there if you include bench players. And then finally, Chris Wood, who, a little bit of a differential. Nottingham Forest, maybe backing them a little bit against Fulham is the algorithm, given that he's made it down there onto the bench. Bit of a spoiler as for what's to come in my side, as I have chosen to go for a Nottingham Forest asset myself, but not the same one. Let's take a look. So I have gone for Morgan Gibbs-White in my midfield. Fulham at home is a pretty nice fixture. One that I think there could be goals in between those two sides, and that's why I've gone for Gibbs-White. I just think he is a really, really underrated FPL asset, to be honest, and that's why he's made it into my side here. So he's come in for Odegaard, and I have kind of done what I alluded to with going for the double Arsenal defence instead of having a double up in the midfield. So I've still got Gabriel, but I've gone for Ben White as well. Aït-Nouri, I was trying to squeeze into my starting 11, but he's only just made, the first defensive sub position. So, if what happens with Gabriel, that's happened before, happens again, then at least I've got some decent cover on the bench. But I've gone with Jose Sarr in goal to try and cover if Wolves do get a clean sheet. You never know. Maybe I'll end up with 2 if what happens before, what I said before, does happen. Not that it's probably that likely to with Gabriel. And then the only other change is that I've gone with Alexander Isak up front in the game against Everton. He just seems to be a player that when he's in that kind of form that he's in right now is pretty unstoppable, and I could definitely see him getting a return in that game against Everton. It's going to be interesting to see how Newcastle perform without Anthony Gordon. Harvey Barnes looked fantastic when I watched him when he came on in the game against West Ham. He's probably earned himself a start, to be honest, in that one, so I'm interested to see. Was contemplating maybe going very rogue and going with a kind of punt on him, but obviously it would only be a 1-week thing, so I wouldn't be considering him for any kind of long-term transfer, that being more than 1 week, because Gordon will be back from suspension by game week 32, of course. Let's have a look finally at the captaincy then, because I've obviously gone with Mo Salah too. My vice captaincy is on Bukayo Saka, who did limp off at the end of Manchester City's game against Arsenal. I think he probably will start, but I am seeing a few rumours circulating that maybe he won't. So I've got Matthias Cunha down there on the bench as backup, so another Wolves asset if he is needed. But let's have a look then. If Saka is kind of confirmed fit and available, is he somewhat of a challenge to Mo Salah, or is he just the standout captain, the Egyptian king? So to do this, we're comparing via the football matrix and the captain matrix. As always, 10.5 predicted points for Mo Salah is almost enough straight there off the bat to kind of confirm that he is just a league above the rest in terms of predicted captaincy points this week. Saka on 7.1 and then Haaland on 6.1, so both some margin away from Mo Salah this game week. Sheffield United at home, who are actually the weakest defence statistically, 2.17 XGC compared to Luton's 2.29. But Villa are definitely the strongest defence of the bunch, 1.5 expected goals conceded for them. So I'm not sure too many people are going to have the captain's armband on Haaland this week. I just don't think he's been that quite clinical, quite so dominant Haaland that we've seen at other points last year and this year. Salah has the best team he's playing for in terms of attacking numbers, 2.31 XG per game for Liverpool compared to 2.05 and 2.07. You can see respectively there for Arsenal and Man City. And then look at his expected FPL points as an asset per 90 minutes, 8.69. He's just ahead of Saka and Haaland in terms of numbers, and that's kind of all there is to it. So on paper, there's no doubt Salah's the best captain. I think you'd be an idiot if you don't own him to back against him based on pure numbers. But if you've got a bit of a gut feeling, or you just don't think that Liverpool are going to turn up against Sheffield United, then, why not have some fun? Why not be a bit different? It's that time in the season where you can definitely start to justify taking a bit of a risk. This week would maybe not be the week to do it, in my view, but each to their own. And play the game your own way, and don't be afraid to take a risk. I know what I've said might be a bit stupid, but that would be just based on what is written down and what is on paper. do what you want to do, and ultimately try and make FPL as fun as possible. It's not that deep, it's just a game. But yeah, hopefully this video has been useful for you guys. If you're taking any of the assets that I've put in either side, or from my side, or you're taking any of the computer generated assets in the algorithm team into your side with a transfer this week, let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, I wish you guys a happy game week 31. Hopefully your arrow ends up being green. And yeah, I hope to catch you in the next video. Goodbye.